What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, joined by a finally dry, I believe, Bill Schmid, who braved the elements out there the last 2 days, really, at Lambeau or at Ray Nitschke Field. Billy, how you holding up?
Good. Yeah, definitely dried out now.
Good. Good to
After
hear.
several wringing out sessions, not only my hair, clothes, and other things, but yeah, it was a wet day there, Nags. But I got to be honest, and people will laugh at this part of it, and
Okay.
I laughed a year ago when it was brought up to me by another team. When your season ends in the rain, I understand why the Packers didn't go inside today. Whether or not it helps them at in the slightest bit in the 2024 season, if the result isn't what it is in San Francisco or in Santa Clara, I should say,
Right, right.
they might have been inside the
Maybe
Donaldson
they're
Center today.
inside the Hudson Center. That's a fair point because it was a bit moist that evening.
Yeah,
That playoff
especially when
exit,
heavens opened up on the final drive when Jordan and the offense finally trailed and then had to go
and
down
we're
in an absolute
unable
monsoon.
unable to operate at that point. Yeah, that's not a bad assessment. I think maybe something to that. Right now, I will admit when I saw all the clips on social media of the downpour at practice,
Mm-hmm.
right after the team had done stretch inside and ran out into the rain, I thought, okay, that's a little bit different for Matt LaFleur. I did
Big
think
time.
that. I mean, previous seasons they have been indoors at the slightest kind of inkling of big time rain on the radar, which certainly there was this morning. Yeah, I mean, outdoors they went, and it sure seemed like the defense basically ruled the entirety of the proceedings. Though I think it's hard to operate on offense in the rain, especially when your starting
Yeah.
quarterback isn't there, etc. But yeah, that's an interesting point, and I will say that I think that tracks. I do not doubt for a moment that maybe feeds into it a little bit.
Well, and you mentioned that the defense was buzzing throughout. Jeff Halfley was fired up at least through the position drills that we were out there until we had to make sure that we saved the equipment because
I was
we didn't
gonna
want to get
say you
fired
were
losing some stuff at some particular point in
you
time.
were
It was
live on the
probably
air
going to
until
happen.
you weren't
Yeah,
because the
until all of a sudden it was a quick ceasefire. Um,
can
but
we get my boy a tent? Can someone get my guy a tent? Yesterday, I saw that first picture of you out there, and I was very excited for you. But you were there, sans tent, in the
yeah,
boiling
cooking a little
heat,
bit.
the sun just bearing down, and I thought, okay, homeboy's getting for a real uncomfortable morning, but okay, fine. And then today happens, and there's the downpour. What is tomorrow? Is tomorrow locusts? I mean, what is going on? We need some covering for my guy Billy out there.
Well, and I'm wondering if tent might work because tomorrow I'm assuming some kind of windstorm, like Ray
Right.
Nitschke Field just gets covered up with
Sure.
tumbleweeds
That's
blowing
probably
through.
next on the checklist. That's a fair point.
Yeah,
Fair
that would
point.
be the
Yeah.
next on the partial natural disasters that run through us while we're sitting there. But no, it is a remarkable area, and I feel Nags, it was one part of today that was good because there were some really hardcore fans that were still hanging out. They were going to brave the elements through hell or high water. They make their vacations here to go and enjoy Packers training camp. And we're kind of taking away one of the best viewing platforms for standing room only. So
Yeah, you
there were
are.
there were a large amount of standing room only fans that, they jumped in once we had to pack up the gear here today. So
Right.
I hate that they had to stand through it, but I'm glad that they were at least able to take the more views because you should. It's an elite area
It
at
really
Ray Nitschke
is.
Field.
Okay, and speaking of, let's talk about the proceedings. Let's start on Monday, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I think through these first 2 days, really, I mean, we've seen lots kind of already coming out about today's practice in the rain, where the defense was extremely active, very physical. We've seen a lot about Rashawn Gary and Devontae Wyatt, etc. Was that the case on day one? Has that been pretty similar so far as the first 2 days and the defense kind of having maybe not the upper hand, but looking a bit more physical and a bit more kind of alive and with it?
Yeah, I think that's always it, right? I think that that's a general yearly assumption is the defense is going
Right.
to be ahead of the offense. With the new defense, maybe it feels a little bit more impressive, but when you got dudes like Rashawn Gary who's coming out with like you can't even see the number underneath the shell on the front. He's a
Right.
scary looking cat. I mean, like there's
Right.
understanding why they were as fired up as they were and how much energy is being pumped on that side of the ball. I just Nags just looking at the rotations and everything else, you could feel a definite buzz from the team periods in the red zone that was pretty much in front of us in day one from the
Right.
defense. The execution on the offense was pretty decent on day one, but the energy was solely on that defense, which might be a little bit more of an initial jolt of energy as to what the hopefully new system ends up being.
All right. Well, we did yeoman's work here because we went 5 whole minutes without discussing
Impressive.
Jordan Love's hold in, as it were, which I think is probably a record around the Packers podcast, blogosphere, what have you, over these last 24
About to
hours.
get canceled if we didn't.
Clearly, we need to discuss it. And I will say kudos to you because I was confident that a deal would get done prior to the start of camp. I did think there was a chance he'd either stay away or hold in. Turns out it is a hold in, but he is definitely not practicing. It seemed like, now you were there on Monday when the team took the field. It does seem like vibes are high regardless. Like the quotes coming out of the locker room, even Brian Gutekunst saying, I totally understand his position. Sure feels like everyone involved has Jordan's back on this.
Yeah, for now. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
because
right.
but like I totally
story.
I'm totally with you because it is like I expected more response on our text line to be he's under contract.
Right.
I've
gotten a few of those,
right?
mostly on Facebook. That's a Facebook comment, most definitely.
Yep. And you generally, if you do this part of it long enough, you know the individuals and you can kind of set your watch to them coming through, right?
Who it's going to be, right?
Who they're going to be, right? You kind of understand.
Gary in Platteville is very upset. Very upset.
Very upset.
No
Yes. Yep. So those work, right? And I understand it. I also understand the other side where there's some almost just questioning, hands, palms up emoji saying, why are we doing this to ourselves again? Right? Like, can't we just not make this a problem? Can't we just not make this a problem? So like there's the 5 to 10% on each side, but right in the middle, everyone kind of sees both sides. I was talking to a nice gentleman from Maryland who was sitting right next to us on Monday. Right. And he's like, yeah, it feels like the last leverage point that he's got. I hope that I get to see him though while I'm here on my vacation. Like that's the most immediate take that you could have on it. I want to see him on the field because I'm here.
I'm a fan. That's the
and
whole
I'm a fan
point.
of the Packers and
him. My star QB, right?
So that part of it, I didn't. The reaction has been a little bit more even keel than I thought it would be potentially from the fans.
Right.
For now.
Yeah,
but if it gets Nags, if it gets to, and my new line of demarcation that I kind of popped up with is probably Saturday. Because Saturday is second day in pads, NFL Network, back to football special.
Is it Saturday? I don't think it's Saturday. Isn't it Sunday?
Okay, either Saturday or Sunday. Because one of those 2 days.
5 days without pads. They have to go 5 practices without pads. So I think it's Sunday.
Okay, well, because
I'm not 1,000% sure.
But one of those 2 days is the daily thing where every NFL team is in practice.
Yeah.
Everybody's there on the NFL Network. They're live for like 12 hours straight.
Right.
And they're going and they're interviewing everybody from the janitor to the head coach and GM. Right.
Right.
If it's still a story at that point,
then
eyes are going to start really rolling, I think.
Yeah. I think to me, it's Monday. I've given it a week in my mind, right? Like where if it's not done by next Monday, then I start to go, what the hell, man? And look, to your point, like the thing in the middle with the shrug emoji, like I very much feel that as far as on the one hand, I understand that it's a very complicated thing. The deal is very specialized, especially because Jordan Love sat for 3 years. And the new thing now is to try and take advantage of that rookie deal. Well, the Packers didn't do that because they had a Hall of Fame quarterback. And then they had the one kind of Band-Aid year that they added to Jordan's deal, et cetera, right? All of that kind of precursor to where they've landed after Jordan had the year he had last year. Now, clearly, they are committed to Jordan. They want him to be the dude full time, long time, et cetera. But because they are in such a unique position and because they, being the Packers, operate in a very unique way, they have once again put themselves here. That, what you were talking about earlier, I feel like, God, can't we just go one news cycle without something in the quarterback? Like, why is it always the Packers and the quarterback having issues? Like, and I understand it's all kumbaya right now and things are good and whatever. But man, why? Like you had all summer. You couldn't get there by last Monday. Really?
Yeah, in I don't think it's like people then say, well, why are you don't know that it's the Packers' fault. You don't know that it's Jordan's fault. I don't care who it is.
Which is true. Which is true.
Very true. But in my easy, dumb opinion, I take this the way McAfee guys say it. Smart
Right.
people figure it out. All right. Russ Ball is way smarter than I. I have never, Nags, and I've said this a couple times. I really hope I'm offending some people. I don't know a whole lot of our demographic, our listeners
Right.
are hanging out making 9-figure business deals. If you are,
Probably not.
congratulations, and you're doing
Right.
so well in your industry, and I am really proud of you. And I
Well done.
appreciate that you think that we're
Big clap.
entertaining enough to hang out here. Big clap for you.
Big clap.
But so that part of it we're kind of not involved with. I don't know
Right.
what it ultimately entails. I imagine it's quite vast. But I also assume that you could have been a little bit closer than we are right now, because close, it's an interesting definition. I don't know if it's the definition of pornography. I'll believe it once I see it. But I do know that it is meaning something completely different to everyone.
I believe it's. I'll know it when I see it.
I'll know it when I see
believe it when I see it. I think you believe it regardless, but yes, you'll know it when you see it without question. But that's the thing. Like, maybe one less trip to the vineyard, maybe one less, sojourn across to Europe or something. I'm just thinking somewhere along the line, someone or somebody on both sides had like an out of office for an extra couple days. That maybe if they didn't take that, maybe this would have been done.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Maybe if we wouldn't have spent one extra weekend at the cottage in Rhinelander, we
I'm
could
just
have had
saying.
this thing hammered out. Yes.
I'm pretty sure both sides were not in Rhinelander, but maybe. Who knows? I like. Shout out Rhinelander.
Yeah, I got you. Probably Woodruff. Big Hazelhurst guy over here is Nags.
No, undoubtedly Russ Ball was at the Dells with his family. He couldn't be got.
True. Yes.
But this is my.
Could you imagine him in the wave pool just rocking out? Because he's jacked up now. No one understands that part about Russ Ball. Right? Yes, he fills out that nice suit
that just kind of happened too. Like, right,
dude.
Yeah. I know. That's so funny you notice that, because it's very, very true, very noticeable. But you're the first human I've ever heard utter it. And
it's awesome.
It's very apparent when you see him.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So,
yes, Monday is my line of demarcation. And yes, I think we'll get through the weekend and it'll be annoying because it's going to consume not only our thoughts, but our social feeds and the news cycle. And doesn't Brian and Russ, doesn't David Mulligetta, don't they understand that we're the ones on the front line here?
Yeah, we're the ones battling.
Like, they are sequestered in private rooms and having, Zoom sessions, maybe faxing back and forth if they're old school, but like they're able to just sit and work and do have their life, right? And not have to deal with Gary and Platteville being upset like you and I are.
Just imagine how much longer this would have taken if we were still doing telegrams. I mean, like, it would be a much, much more difficult situation. I do kind of question, and the funny thing is all these different lines of deadlines and all this all ends up being arbitrary until one of the sides is. I just, Nags, and I don't know that we ever will. A lot of these stories we don't.
Right.
I'd love to know what the biggest two. I'm guessing there's probably two
snags
points right now. Yeah. There's two snags that are being held up, and each side thinks they got the other side and going to get both. Can we just both split and amicably? One matters more to the other side. We'll figure that out in a couple
Billy, we talked about this in the last episode, and I'm pretty sure this still rings true and maintains its truth, is that I have zero doubt that one of the things they're trying to navigate is the Packers not wanting to guarantee any money past the first year. That's something we talked about last episode. I have seen absolutely and heard absolutely nothing that would dissuade me from the idea that the Packers are trying to navigate this without, I guess, for lack of a better word, caving to that idea.
Yeah, and Russ Ball's got to hate the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, like,
right.
A couple of years ago,
100%.
Christian Kirk. This time around, Trevor Lawrence. Seems like the Miami Dolphins are not big fans of the Jacksonville Jaguars' way of business right now. But it definitely appears to have been a difference maker in negotiations. Because Mulligetta, I have heard him a couple of times. He doesn't speak a whole lot. None of these agents really do, unless you're Drew Rosenhaus and you like hearing yourself.
Right.
But he's also toned down a little bit. I should give him some credit for that.
He has.
Mulligetta is very much a the market sets itself. And when that market was set from Trevor Lawrence, I assume that might now be a new sticking point where yesterday's price is
Well,
not
just
today's
and
price.
it's not even just like the thing that everyone talks about is the average per year, which is fine. Like that's certainly one point, but I think it's much more about cash flow, much more about guarantees, much more
Yep.
about what are they getting for sure those first 2-3 years.
Yep.
It's that is 100% what
And
I suspect is like this quote unquote sticking point here.
well, and let's be honest, Jordan's got a damn wedding to pay for, so we need some upfront money. All right, we need a little
True
extra
story.
on that signing bonus, fellas.
Ain't no lie there. Ain't no lie. Well, the fact remains Jordan Love continues to not practice. Continues to after 2 days. Although shout out to Jordan for being out there today in the pouring rain.
Dude,
Didn't need to be. There he was.
It was hilarious. Every moment, like within every 30, 40 seconds, you'd hear somebody within earshot say, "Oh, I think Jordan went inside now." I don't see. Nope, he's sitting over there.
There he is.
And QB1 turned into a wet t-shirt contest. He's like flanking it out, trying to just tidal waves coming off. And he's like,
Oh, I love it.
I ain't going anywhere now.
Well, let's talk. With that said, we know that's the thing that's kind of hanging over camp so far. Hopefully that gets resolved by the time I post this. Who knows? Who knows? But
Love that.
that is just hanging there, right? So let's talk about a few other things going on these first couple days, right? Namely, let's talk about your wheelhouse. Let's talk about the offensive line. And let's talk about Andre Dillard and the fact that when you sign Andre Dillard, you're probably not surprised when Andre Dillard shows up, which is seemingly what happened today, getting just, I guess, sounds like beat like a drum by Rashawn Gary. Now, that's no shame. Lots of people have been beat by Rashawn Gary repeatedly. But it's going to be fascinating to see. I know Zach Tom has been doing the normal kind of starting right tackle stuff in walkthrough settings. With Dillard struggling so far these first couple practices, I wonder if it's much longer before we see Jordan Morgan out there at right tackle.
Yeah, maybe. And I also think the interesting one is Glover, the kid from Georgia State, right? Where he could factor in just from the couple of individual drills that have been pretty much right in front of us. Seems like he's working more exclusively right side. So that might be his first pathway to getting on. Size wise, you would think more of a tackle, but you do have to wonder how tied they are to the depth piece. The Royce Newman tie in with the contract today, basically unguaranteeing all the money, shows that they are open for business with guard and tackle. And it appears that they're going to give Jordan Morgan every chance to go win that right guard job. So
yes, right.
I wonder if that gets settled before anything else does. And if there is something more to the fact that they put the Zach Tom bumping over to center thing on hold for one more year until he gets this nice big arm brace off of that right side where I presume he snaps from.
Well, it's interesting too to see Elton Jenkins getting run at center a bit more than maybe was expected. I know Matt tried to maybe downplay it today in his press availability, but I don't know, man. I think Elton certainly has plenty of experience there in college. He's played a few snaps there for the Packers as well. And look, there's worse things to have than Elton Jenkins as your, in case of emergency, break glass center. I mean, that's a pretty sweet deal. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the pads come on. Because for me, it's like, I can't take too much away. Yes, Rashawn Gary's owning, right? Devontae Wyatt caused a fumble on Sean Clifford today. And the defensive line in general has been like the talk of these first two practices. And I'm very excited as a Packers fan. I want a lot more kind of pressure up front, right? I want more havoc being created by the defensive front. But Billy, these things change exponentially when pads come on and blocking schemes are able to be executed at a much more physical level. I don't know. I'm still tempering my enthusiasm when it comes to this defensive front just owning up front.
Yeah, there's only so much blocking you can do without pads. I mean, like I know that sounds arbitrary, but it kind of is true
though, right?
Yeah, you're only gonna look so good when you're in the protect mode when there's no protection on you, right? Like where you so
You
I know
can't
that sounds
you can't
easy.
get your hands inside and get in those pads
Can't
and
grasp
control a dude.
anything.
What are you gonna do? Grab his t-shirt? You know what I mean? Or his
Truly
jersey?
no real leverage. I mean, the little shell thing that they got on is not doing it.
Right.
And you're I mean, you're not going to be able to be hitting anything other than your teammates' body, which is a
Right.
factor of it. So I mean, I get it. I do. Hopefully they look better. Hopefully the defensive line continues to look good because I don't fear that the Packers offensive line is a weakness for this team
No.
in 24. Like
not at all.
in
Right
the
there with
Jenkins the center also is going to be a part of if indeed maybe Jacob Monk is pushing more and more and you find out that you have Monk and Morgan are your two guys that end up forging their way through into the lineup and now all of a sudden Josh Myers goes down, maybe it's
Mhm.
easier to plug one of those guys in over at a guard spot.
And
Jenkins
slide
more
Jenkins in
comfortable
center.
with the
Yeah.
calls and with the entire offense, and you just feel more confident with him setting the tone right there in the middle.
I think that makes a world of sense. The other thing that makes sense is Evan Williams getting the run with the ones,
Yeah.
getting the start alongside Xavier McKinney after Javon Bullard was your starter opposite McKinney on day one. I love that. It looks like now we're only 2 days in, but it would look like, yeah, these guys are going to battle for that spot. It's not going to be handed to Bullard, who I know is listed on the depth chart as the one across from McKinney, but it sure feels like it's going to be day by day here, and you're going to give Evan Williams every shot to earn that spot, which I love.
Yeah, and I know Schneidman had a little quote or something that leaked out that he had posted of Bullard saying like once you get comfortable, that's when somebody takes your job.
Great quote.
He's like, and I don't even have a job yet. Maybe
Yep.
we were ready to assign that he has a job yet, and
Right.
he knows more
He
about the
knows
practice
that ain't
plan,
the truth. Yep.
more about the
Yep.
plan here for the first week and a half, 2 weeks than we do. They're also allowing Evan Williams to possibly be the Ray Nitschke Field MVP, right? The one where even if Bullard looks good,
right,
you're looking around saying, well, how are you going to keep this guy off the field?
How is he staying on the sideline?
You got to find a way to get him on the field. Carrington Valentine, same way from a year ago.
Yeah, it sounded like Valentine had a good day today. I mean, it's nice when you see these guys pop up, right? And the other interesting aspect is watching the kicking competition for these first 2 days.
Awesome.
Come on, Anders Carlson nailing everything in the rain today.
How about that?
Would have been nice in San Fran, but I'll take it. Take it.
Year two. It's all about getting incrementally better. You'll like this too, Nags, because you're always gonna hang out and linger around the field and just stay as long as possible. So
as long as they let me. Yeah.
The last couple of guys that are on the field are all special teamers trying their hand at kicking off and seeing how far they could get it into a landing zone, just to see potentially if it could be an idea.
Who might be able to contribute there?
Who could give us at least a little bit of a boost if indeed this is the way we go?
Right.
Justin Reed style with the Kansas City Chiefs to go position player potentially.
Position player, additional potential tackler on the field. I like it. Do you remember anybody who was out there, or was it just
not really? It was just a mass of bodies. It also looked like some long snappers that may have just been leaping around that were having some fun. But the special teams drills are more unique than we've seen, and they're throwing a tennis ball in, trying to congregate from the 35 into one area. Crazy. And then today it's AJ Dillon and Josh Jacobs back deep, practicing the return side. So Wayne and I had talked about that when he jumped up with me on Monday on the radio show. Of some teams are maybe thinking that's going to be the easier way. Go with a more running back style guy.
I think that makes a world of sense, right?
Easier given what we know that style.
Yeah, I think it's going to be trial and error, I think, early on, especially in the preseason. But AJ Dillon in that role, I don't hate it.
Love it.
It makes a world of sense, right?
Best shape of your life season. Way to go,
AJ
Dillon.
Life. Look at AJ Dillon. Matt LaFleur giving him the best shape of his life. Nod in the press availability.
It's not a good sign.
I didn't want to say it, but hey, he looks great. He looks great. Good.
That's never a great thing.
Never a great sign.
It doesn't always. It kind of feels like the vote of confidence that goes to like
the dreaded
under 500 manager in baseball. Like, oh, we're giving him a vote of confidence here before the All-Star break with 10 to play.
Or like Jerry Jones the week before you play the Packers and then you get beat by 30 on national television. You know you're done. It's over. It's Jover, as it were.
Oh man. Sorry, Wade.
That it is what it. Wait, hey, that was great. That was a great stretch when the Packers
an
sent
amazing
Wade
thing.
packing, and then was it Childress
Childress the next week.
following week?
The
Come on.
Fire Childress chants raining through
I
the
mean, that's
Metrodome.
that's a special time in Packers history right there. I mean,
That was
you
awesome.
Really can't,
I still remember watching the ESPN coverage because gold package night against the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know.
Yes,
if
sir.
you forgot
Yeah.
about that part.
No, that was when the gold package was like
Electric
boisterous
factory in
and
there.
electric.
Yeah,
Yeah,
electric
not like
factory
these
in there.
lazy bones. that
So
go out
we
there
wake
now.
up at the
Yeah.
Best Western somewhere in Green Bay, and we're eating continental breakfast, just watching the Wade Phillips firing come in live. Felt like I had a hand in that.
You absolutely
it.
did.
I'm proud
You
of it.
Absolutely did.
Pear-shaped youth like myself was just
back
giving
when
it
the
to fans.
back when the gold package was wild, man. We need to get back to those days. Need to get back to those days. You know, I just love giving you grief. I love giving you grief. All right, well, Billy, I'm going to be in town later this week, if you can imagine it. I'm going to be
Can't wait.
hopefully at practice on Friday. So
Well-
hopefully both myself and Jordan Love are in attendance and doing our jobs.
Yeah, how about we get perfect attendance coming up on Friday? I was
I'm down.
never a
See?
kid. I was never a kid that was in the running for perfect attendance in school.
Yeah, you and me both.
But maybe for a Friday, again, that would be another time that I wasn't usually in for perfect attendance, especially
Summer
on
Friday feels
college.
weird to be perfect attendancing, but yeah, I'll take it.
But it seems like a good one.
You, me, Jordan Love, all doing our jobs on Friday. That's the goal. That's where we're gonna leave this. That's the goal for the end of the week. This Friday, I'm at practice. Jordan Love's suited up on the field, actually participating, and you are commentating on the radio with a tent over your head. That's where we want to be living on Friday.
All but the last one, I think, are pretty solid bets.
I don't know who I got to talk to. I'm going to talk to the manager because this is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. 2 days in a row without a tent is absurd, sir. I can't believe it. All right, Billy.
Man.
I can't wait to see you, brother. And thanks, as always, for hanging out, talking Packers with me
Yes.
here on Carry the G Radio, the podcast. I'll see you in a few days. Take it easy and go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go. We'll do this in person next week.